Six Claims of Globalization. This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. Hello everyone, I am going to report the Claim 1 or the first claim of Manfred Stedger. So, according to Manfred Stedger, globalization is about the liberalization and global integration of markets. So this is one of the significant aspects of globalization. It is the liberalization and global integration of markets. This process involves the removal of the trade barriers, such as tariffs and quotas, and the promotion of free trade investment across national borders. So there are key points that we can discuss about this aspect of globalization. First key point is the trade liberalization. So globalization often leads to trade liberalization, which is the reduction or elimination of trade barriers between countries. This can include lowering tariffs or taxes on imports or reducing the non-tariffs barriers such as import quotas and regulations, and facilitating the movement of goods and services across the borders. The second key point of the first claim would be the global integration. Globalization aims to integrate national economies into the global economy. This integration can take various forms, including the establishments of international trade agreements and regional trade blocs, such as the European Union and the NAFTA or the North American Free Trade Agreement. So the third key point is the market access. Globalization provides businesses with access to larger consumer markets around the world. This can lead to increased competition but also opportunities for growth and expansions. So the last key point is the global supply chains. Companies often establish global supply chains to take advantage of cost efficiencies and access to the resources in different parts of the world. This practice is a hallmark of globalization in the business world.
Claim 2. Globalization is inevitable and irreversible. The idea that globalization is inevitable and irreversible is a common perspective. Globalization refers to interconnectedness and interdependence of nations in terms of trade, communication, culture, and more. While it has been a dominant trend, there are debates about its permanent and potential challenges. Some argue that factors like nationalism and geopolitical shifts can influence the course of globalization. However, it's important to note that globalization has significantly transformed the world in various ways and remains a prominent feature of the contemporary global landscape. Globalization is a complex and ongoing process that has had a profound impact on the world. Here are some examples illustrating its inevitability and reversibility. 1. Trade and supply chains. The global interconnectedness of trade and supply chains has made it difficult to reverse globalization. Companies source materials, components, and products from multiple countries, making it economically unfeasible to go back to isolated, self-sufficient models. 2. Information flow. The internet and digital technologies have facilitated the rapid exchange of information worldwide. It's nearly impossible to reverse the flow of information or disconnect countries from the global digital network.
So another example of globalization is cultural exchange. The exchange of cultural ideas, practices, and products has become ingrained in societies. International films, music, cuisine, and fashion are readily available and enjoyed worldwide, leading to cultural fusion that can't be undone. And another example is migration. People continue to migrate across borders for work, education, and other various ideas and reasons. This movement of people contributes to cultural diversity and global interconnectedness. And while there are many debates and challenges related to the pace and nature of globalization, its overall trend is considered irreversible due to deep interdependence among nations and economics. So, globalization is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, and inevitability and irreversibility come with both advantages and disadvantages. So, pros or the advantages. First is the economic growth. Globalization promotes economic growth by allowing countries to access large markets, leading to increased trade and investment opportunities. Second is technological advancement. It encouraged the spread of technology and innovation across borders, fostering progress in various industries. Third is cultural exchange. Globalization facilitated cultural exchange, enabling people to learn about and appreciate diverse cultures, traditions, and ideas. And fourth is that access to information. The internet and global communication networks provide easy access to information and education and resources. And lastly, reduced prices. Consumers benefit from lower prices on imported goods and a wider variety of choices. And let's move on to the cons or the disadvantages. Income inequality. Globalization can exacerbate income inequality as some individuals and regions benefit more than others, leading to disparities in wealth distribution. Second is job displacement. It may lead to job displacement in certain industries due to outsourcing and automation, like using technologies. Third is cultural homogenization. There's a risk of cultural homogenization as global brands and media dominate, potentially eroding local tradition and values. Fourth is environmental impact. Increased transportation and production can lead to environmental degradation and higher carbon emissions. Lastly is dependency. Some nations become dependent on global markets for essential goods, making them vulnerable to economic fluctuations. And concludes that while globalization is generally seen as inevitable and irreversible, Addressing its drawbacks and ensuring that its benefits are more equitably distributed remains a significant challenge for government and organizations worldwide.
Hi everyone, I am going to report the third claim of globalization. This claim stated that nobody is in charge of globalization. So it reflects a key characteristic of globalization. It is a complex and decentralized process that lacks a single governing authority or controlling entity. Instead, globalization involves the interactions of various actors and forces across the borders, including governments, international organizations, multinational corporations, and non-governmental organizations, or the NGOs. In the third claim, there are pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. The first one is flexibility and adaptability. Without central authority, globalization can adapt more easily to changing circumstances and emerging trends. So the second pros is innovation and competition. The absence of a single controlling authority can foster competition and innovation. Different businesses, regions, and countries can experiment with new ideas and approaches, leading to more diverse and creative solutions. The third is diverse perspectives. Globalization without a central authority allows for the incorporation of diverse perspectives and values from various cultures and regions. This can lead to more inclusive decisions making processes. Lastly, reduced bureaucracy. A lack of centralized control can reduce bureaucracy red tape, making it easier for businesses and individuals to change in cross-border activities and trade. So let's go with cons. First one is lack of accountability. Without a clear entity in charge, it can be challenging to hold anyone accountable for negative consequences of globalization. So the second one is lack of regulation. A decentralized approach to globalization can lead to a lack of regulation in critical areas like environmental protection, labor standards, and consumer safety. The fourth one is the conflict and disputes. In the absence of central authority to mediate disputes, conflicts can arise between countries or businesses, potentially leading to trade wars or other forms of economic instability.
Globalization benefits everyone. Globalization can have the potential to benefit everyone, but it's important to note that the extent of these benefits can vary depending on various factors, including a person's location, socioeconomic status, and access to resources. Here are some general ways in which globalization can benefit a wide range of people. Certainly, here are some examples of globalization benefits that can positively impact everyone. First, talk about cultural awareness. Exposure to different cultures and perspectives promotes tolerance, empathy, and broader worldview. The second one, let's talk about medical advancements. Globalizations allow for the sharing of medical research and advancements, leading to improved healthcare practices and the development of vaccines and treatments that benefit people worldwide. Third and the last, innovation and technology. Globalization fosters innovation through the exchange of ideas and technologies, leading to products and services that improve quality of life. These examples demonstrate that while globalization can have challenges and drawbacks, it also offers significant benefits that can positively impact people and societies worldwide. So that is the claim for globalization.
Claim number 4. Globalization benefits everyone. Globalization is good for everyone, although this claim needs further examination. Although there are positives to globalization, which is characterized by growing cross-border interconnection and terms of economy, culture, and society. Next is examples. First is global supply chains. Through global supply chains, several industries, including technology and automotive manufacturing, profit from globalization. For instance, a smartphone frequently consists of parts produced in several nations, such as processors from Taiwan, screens from South Korea, and assembly in China. This connectivity enables economical production, which ultimately results in lower consumer pricing and more widespread access to technology for everyone. Next is education and information exchange. Globalization has made it feasible to access online learning resources and information on the Internet. Access to educational resources allows students and learners everywhere in the world to share information and advance personally. And next is pros and cons about claim number 4, which talks about globalization benefits everyone. So pros, economic growth. So we all know that globalization can stimulate economic growth by promoting trade, investment, and technological progress. This leads to job creation and improving living standards. And we all know that every country need economic growth so it will not collapse. And next is access to goods and services. Consumers benefit from globalization through access to a wider variety of products and services at competitive prices, enhancing their quality of life. And next is cultural exchange. Globalization fosters cultural exchange, encouraging understanding and tolerance among diverse communities, enriching cultural experiences. So next is cons. Income inequality. Globalization often exacerbates income inequality, benefiting some while leaving others behind, leading to social disparities. Next is cultural homogenization. Indigenous cultures and traditions may erode due to the dominance of Western culture, resulting in cultural loss and homogenization. Next is environmental degradation. The pursuit, the pursuit of economic growth may contribute to environmental degradation through increased pollution, deforestation, and resource depletion.
So, the statement argues that proponents of globalization often claims that globalization promotes democracy. This argument is rooted in neoliberal ideology, which suggests that concepts like freedom, free markets, free trade, and democracy are closely interconnected and synonymous. In this view, the belief is that when nations engage in globalization by promoting free markets and free trade, they are also encouraging democratic principles. However, the statement raises a critical point of contention. It argues that this emphasis on the formal aspects of democracy, particularly the act of voting, can be misleading while globalization may encourage countries to adopt democratic processes on the surface. It doesn't necessarily address the deeper issues of inequality and power imbalances within societies. In essence, the argument suggests that the globalization might bring about political changes that resemble democracy, but it doesn't always address the underlying social and economic disparities, leaving a gap between the formal structures of democracy and the lived experience of individuals. Within these globalized societies, critics of this perspective argue that the true democracy should encompass not only the formal act of voting but also address broader issues of social and economic equity. In summary of that statement, it suggests that as globalization deepens through increased communication, economic ties, and cultural exchange, it can facilitate the diffusion of democratic ideals and systems. Essentially, globalization can create an environment where democratic values are more likely to embrace and adapt by different nations, contributing to global expansion of democratic governance. However, it is important to take note that relationship between globalization and democracy is complex and can vary one context to another.
Claim 6. The claim that globalization requires a global war on terror is a complex and contentious statement. It suggests that the interconnectedness of the world through globalization necessitates a coordinated effort to combat terrorism on a global scale. Supporters of this claim may argue that as globalization has made the world more interconnected, the threats posed by terrorism have also become global in nature. Therefore, they might argue that global response is necessary to address these transnational challenges effectively.
Opponents of this claim, on the other hand, may argue that a war on terror approach has been criticized for its effectiveness, human rights abuses, and potential for exacerbating tensions. They might suggest that addressing the root causes of terrorism, such as socioeconomic inequality and political instability, should be prioritized over military action.